get after it in Northport.
And he waylays this thing way downtown. Swung on a fly ball, deep left center field, heading towards the gap. That is down for a base hit. Acuna hits the bag at third. Here he comes. Michael Harris taking no prisoners. It's a sweep.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Is your concrete sinking? Whether it's your driveway, sidewalk, or patio, those uneven surfaces are not just ugly, they're dangerous. That's where AFS comes in, a groundworks company. They use state-of-the-art concrete lifting solutions to prevent tripping hazards, and they're the best at what they do. Schedule your free inspection at afsrepair.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and I'm here to tell you it's truck month. No payments for 90 days on 24 and 25 models of F-150, Ranger, Maverick, Super Duty, and Lightning. We've got over 220 F-150s for you to choose from with generous finance rates and the best deals of the year on America's best-selling truck for 48 years in a row. Great deals on Bronco, Bronco Sport, Expedition, and Explorer 2. Come check those out. But right now at Woody Anderson Ford, you can drive a 2024 F-150 XLT Hybrid for as little as $339 a month. $339 for an F-150. That's a 36-month lease with $64.48 due at signing, zero security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. This offer ends 3/31/25. Call us at 539-9441 for complete details. Over 220 F-150s and nearly 50 Rangers and Maverick pickups to choose from, all with great sales incentives and zero payments for 90 days. Woody Anderson Ford, we hope to see you soon.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And welcome in to Talkin' Ball. I'm going to throw it to the guys on the other side as we're getting ready for another great edition of the show here on a Friday. We got Drew and Jimmy Ray in the studio, ready to give you guys all you need to know about what's going on in the sports, SEC basketball, and so much more. And Drew, going over to you. You got me over there, man? I can't hear you over here. Turn it. Is it on? You got it on over there? Well, let me get over there and we'll get things going.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. I think we can finally got this thing on. We are here on a Friday. It is Drew DeArmond here with Jimmy Lay. We are. Joe Hunk is wearing a ton of hats this week. We're going to give him a little time off. He'll be, of course, with Joe Abraham on the Blitz later this morning. I'll be on with them as well. But we are here with everyone. We appreciate it. Sometimes you just have to turn the switch on. I'm still getting used to the new spot, but appreciate Jimmy Lay, avail.com, coming in to sit in with us this morning. We're going to have a couple of nice guests for you. We're going to have Blake Lovell joining us at 8 o'clock. He is in Nashville at the SEC tournament. We also have Coach David Sisk from Rivals.com. And Coach Sisk, he probably didn't get out of there. He was telling me last night he probably wouldn't get out until 2 a.m. because I think if anybody stayed up, I did, to watch the end of that insane end to Kentucky and Oklahoma, where
crazy
the Big Blue Nation nearly choked all over it with a 10-point lead with 1 minute and 26 seconds to go, and then actually trailed with 5.6 seconds. And then Otega Owe, much like he did in Soonerland earlier this year, just a few weeks ago. Yeah, Jimmy, Otega Owe took over, scored the final 18 points just a few weeks ago to win in Norman. And yesterday he goes baseline, turns the corner, hits the runner with about 0.5 seconds to go, I think was how much was left when he hit the shot to go up 84-83. The half-court shot was no good, and the Big Blue Nation survives. And their reward is they get the University of Alabama tonight. I know Alabama has a lengthy losing streak against Kentucky in the SEC tournament, but they have a history of success as well. They've beaten Kentucky before, and it'll be an interesting matchup tonight. Alabama, that's another thing Alabama's never done, as far as I know, in their history. I don't think they've ever beaten Kentucky 3 times in a year, so we'll see if they can get that done. But Alabama will be well rested. Nate Oates came on at halftime of the game last night of Kentucky, Oklahoma, and gave his thoughts on where the Tide was right now, and they're certainly going to be rested and probably as healthy as they've been in a while. And Jimmy, we may see Darion Reed now. I know he was supposed to practice, Wednesday, and if it went well, very likely. Matter of fact, they do those availability reports, and he was listed as questionable. So I would take that as a good sign.
He'd probably get a few minutes at least, and he's a big piece. I mean, he's got good size, plays good defense. He can shoot the three. The kind of guy that can come in and give you some instant offense, but also he's like I said, he's a great defender. And Kentucky, they got to get out on the 3-point shooters. That's what kind of hurt Alabama at home a few weeks ago against Kentucky. They got off to a fast start, hitting those 3-point shots, but when Alabama locked them down and closed them out in the first half, and they sort of took over the second half, and that's what they're going to have to do tonight.
Yeah, they really are. They're going to. And here's another thing, though, for Kentucky that could be an ominous sign. We'll see. Last night, after about 8 minutes of play, their point guard, the transfer, their leader from San Diego State, who's been in and out of the lineup all year, Lamont Butler, he was having some shoulder issues again. Re-injured himself. I think they did, a MRI and the X-ray, and they never really said what was found. Just that he did not come back to the game last night, Jimmy. And I'll tell you what, you were watching it, I was watching. They definitely missed Lamont Butler in the second half. They went on a big run to get up, 11, 12 points, with less than 3 minutes to go in the game, but when it came to closing out the game, they had a lot of trouble with the press of Oklahoma, had some turnovers. And we also know he did not play in the second game against Alabama, and Alabama methodically pulled away 196-83. The first game he did play in Lexington, and that was a track meet. It was a 102-97 Alabama win in Rupp Arena. But I know they were saying last night he was not going to be available for the rest of the first game, and that was last night's contest. Didn't really give an update. We'll probably get one from David Sisk in the second hour, but we're going to talk about the Cooper Flagg situation here in a second. But if I'm Kentucky, probably going to hold him out because you need Lamont Butler in the NCAA tournament a lot more than you do in the SEC, because if you're Kentucky, you're already solidly in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in the field. They know they're going to the big dance. It'd be great for them to make it to the semifinals, but what do you win at cost of losing a key piece that could help you, in the tournament? So it'll be interesting. Even if he is able to play, he's probably not going to be 100%, and probably see him if he does struggle. They probably just pull him, especially if Alabama starts pulling away from Kentucky and they realize, what's the point? Why we're going to take a chance with this guy? We're going to need him next week. Not sure what Joe Lenardi is projecting as far as where Kentucky will go, but I want to say it's like a 5 or 6.
No, it's a 3.
It's a 3.
It's been solidly a 3 pretty much all week. If you go back and look at the projections. Now, he's been doing them instead of once a week, he's doing them 2 and 3 times a day because of the other conference tournaments around the country. I know yesterday was a huge win for Texas because I think his last projection with Joe Lenardi had the Longhorns in the tournament. They were in after they in that epic game, because I'll be honest, I went out to the Conference USA tournament some last night, and they had 2 high-level quarterfinals that were played last night. First of all, big shout-out to Antoine Petway. We had him on the show yesterday, former Alabama star who's in his second year trying to keep what Amir Abdul-Rahim, the late Amir Abdul-Rahim, had done and built at Kennesaw State, who he went in his final year there. He went to the NCAA tournament, then went to South Florida, won the league last year in the AAC, but did not get into the NCAAs. They lost in the conference tournament. His best player, Chris Youngblood, transferred to Alabama, but he tragically passed away in the offseason much too soon. But Antoine has taken over for him, and in his second year there, I believe that yesterday was their 19th win. They're 19-13. They held on against a bruising New Mexico State team. I was there last night for that entire second half, and Pet and the guys built a 12-point lead, but methodically just driving the ball downhill, taking it inside, and making a 3 or 2. New Mexico State came back and ended up being an 80-77 win, though, for Pet and the Owls. So they're going to take on the 1 seed Liberty. Short turnaround, 11:30 a.m. today over at the Probst Arena. The other semifinal will be a 2 o'clock one, and that ended up being a marathon last night. As when I left at halftime, and it looked like it was Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee. It looked like Jeff from the Borough and the guys had it in hand. It was 40-31 at halftime. Really solid first half for Middle Tennessee. They pulled away late in the first half, but they had it under control. But credit Louisiana Tech. Ended up being a double overtime game, 77-75. The Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders survived, and now they are the 3 seed, and they will take on 2 seed Jack State at 2 o'clock. And then the 2 women's semifinals will be after that. That's how they're going to flip the brackets. The women will be in the evening tonight, but a huge opportunity. And it was some great crowds last night. So I think Joel Lamp and Mark Russell and everyone with the Huntsville Sports Commission and everybody involved with the city had to be pleased. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. It was good to be over there. And some great high-level Division I college basketball. And Jimmy, I'll tell you what, being a part of those kind of atmospheres in these one-bid leagues, I mean, the intensity is off the charts. Like, Pet and his guys were talking about it after the game. You can't take any possessions off in these kind of tournaments because if you lose, there's no tomorrow. I mean, your conference champion in the regular season, if they get to the tournament championship game, they might go to the NIT. You might have another chance. But as far as March Madness, this is it. And last year, in the first year in the Rocket City, on the women's side, the favored Middle Tennessee State Lady Blue Raiders, and they're favored again this year. They're in the semifinals. They won the tournament and did some damage. But it was a 3 seed Western Kentucky that won it last year, not the 1 Sam Houston. Or even the 2 Liberty, or actually I think Liberty was the 4. But I'll just tell you, just watching it, and they were telling us, Joel Lamp was telling us a couple of weeks ago when we kind of previewed this event in our city, they're going to get the tournament, I believe, back next year. But he's right. I mean, you watch the tournament, and 1 through 6, 7, 8, anybody can win it. I mean, they all have similar records. There might be one that has, like the regular season champion Liberty, they have a few more wins than the others. But when you watch everybody play, and for example, Petway and Kennesaw State, just a couple of weeks ago, they won at Liberty. So these tournaments are wide open. You have to be playing well going in. You have to, and like as Lenny Acuff always tells us, be healthy. So, but it's an honor to have it in our city, and it's two high-level tournaments, both on the women's side and the men's.
Absolutely. Great event. Glad that able to bring that to Huntsville. Sounds like it's going to be they're going to be able to bring it here again next year. And so many great things happening in Huntsville with the sports commission and what they're able to do. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but does the loser of the championship game automatically get in the NIT? Is that?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They've kind of changed that a little bit, and what they had done is if it was your regular season champion, you were automatically in the NIT. But I think they've done away with that. But they've also, I'm a little confused. I mean, we Scott Tyson and I, even Steven and I this week have talked about it. I think they even have another tournament now in Vegas.
That's right, they do.
So there's almost two NITs. So there's postseason opportunities for some of these teams, but we all know what they're playing for.
Sure.
They're playing for March Madness. They're playing for a spot in the bracket. And certainly Western Kentucky got that. Last year, they lost early as in the 7-10 game. They lost to FIU, who ended up succumbing to 65-56 a couple of days ago to Jack State. But still, we had Mike Paris on, the voice of the Gamecocks. Jack State, as we said, 2:00 or roughly around that time, they are going to take the floor and get a shot at Middle Tennessee, the Blue Raiders. So it's going to be two good matchups. I mean, the 1 and the 4 and the 2 and the 3. So your top 4 seeds on the men's side all make it through. And the two teams that are favored on the women's side, and it was the same matchup as a year ago, still going to be surprised if it's not Middle Tennessee and of course the defending champion, who are the defending champion, and Liberty. They're both really good. Now Western Kentucky's got a really good team. They're in the semifinals as well. But those two squads, Middle Tennessee and certainly Liberty, are really good. Unfortunately for Liberty, though, if they can't beat Middle Tennessee, like last year, I think Middle Tennessee was so good. They beat Tennessee. I think they might have got in if they didn't win it. But this year, I think it's a little dicier. I think they're going to have to win it to get into the women's bracket. So a lot at stake for sure. And those two games will be at 5:30 and then at 8 tonight for the ladies as they will play. And we're going to go out to the phone lines really quickly as Pat from Tuscaloosa probably stayed up last night to watch the end of that Oklahoma-Kentucky game for Alabama's future opponent. But we're going to go out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline and welcome him to the show. Pat, what's up?
Good morning, fellas. I want to change the subject just a little bit and talk about where Kelby Collins fits into this defensive front of Alabama. That is Kelby going to be a really, really good piece for this defensive line? What do you think, Drew?
Well, I'll just say, that's to be determined. He had a good freshman year at Florida, and then last year, quite frankly, it was at best mediocre. If you look at his snap count and his tackle numbers and just the stats he put up. Now, who knows? LT Overton did not do a ton at Texas A&M before he got to Alabama. And then I thought once he gained the weight, because he was basically playing out of position at A&M, but I mean, who wasn't being ruined by dirt neck? I mean, everybody was. So they had him, weighing 250 and basically trying to be an outside linebacker. He wasn't, the 280 plus that he is now, playing the bandit spot with his hand in the dirt. And so his stats weren't great. Now, but everybody remembers he was a 5-star recruit. He reclassified. Some people thought he was the best defensive player in his class before he reclassified. So he got to Alabama and he was a really good fit. And sometimes that happens. So that was a good get for Alabama. Now, Kelby Collins, again, I believe he was freshman All-SEC his first year with the Gators. Now, last year, not as much. He didn't do as much. So we'll see. He may be a better fit, much like LT Overton at Alabama, but we'll have to see, what kind of spring he has. From what I've heard, I think he has put on some weight. I know they liked him coming out of high school. He had a good relationship with Freddie Roach. He ended up going to Florida, and having a good start to his career, but we'll see. That'll be probably something once the scrimmages start. I mean, I've had people reaching out to me wanting to know about Buzz from the first 3 practices. I had somebody reach out to me the other day wanting to ask if he was telling me he'd heard Ty Simpson was pulling away. I said, dude, it's been 3 practices. I said, they haven't done any real scrimmaging yet. Now they've had some 7-on-7 and they've had a little scrimmage work, but I'm talking about the real scrimmages. I was like, let's wait and see.
I mean, I've heard Keelan Russell's look good too. Of course, I think Austin Max had some moments. I still think, that it's Ty Simpson's job. I said that. I said he's going to be the leader in the clubhouse. I do love Keelan's talent, and I think the coaching staff does too. And you've heard some buzz about how he's throwing the ball. But again, no real scrimmage work yet. So we'll wait. I've heard that all the quarterbacks have had bright moments. I've heard they've had some rough ones. So I think when they get back from spring break, they're off right now. They'll be back at it next week. Once they scrimmage, that's going to tell you a lot. So we'll see. But I think Kelby Collins, he certainly needs to make an impact. I still say, and it was this way going into last year, even though I think with the youth, the secondary was an even bigger question than the defensive line, because the defensive line had some talent coming back. But again, it's always the consistency part. And I thought the defensive line last year at times played well and at times they didn't. But now they've lost some of those guys. Tim Smith has certainly moved on to the NFL. We know he has a chance to be drafted. We'll see about that and see what he ends up doing. I think bringing back LT Overton was huge. And of course, Tim Keenan, because I think Keenan's always been an underrated guy. But again, I think overall, the consistency of the Alabama defensive line is the biggest question, because right now, all those secondary guys got experience last year, including my favorite guy, Bray Hubbard. And Bray Hubbard had to take advantage of an injury to Keon Sabb. He did that. And now you've got Sabb coming back from his injury. You've got Bray Hubbard. You did lose Malachi Moore, but I think you've still got two really good safeties. You've got some really good corners. And then you got some freakazoid freshmen coming in who I think are going to make, an impact. And the one thing I did love with the Zay Mintzes of the world, who started in the bowl game and moved to safety, I love this coaching staff because they realize, this is the NIL and transfer portal era. You got to play them or they're going to leave. Yeah. But Jimmy, I think the Kelby Collins situation is one that we're just going to have to wait and see until we see scrimmage action or hear what's going on. But he does have a chance to make an impact, and they need him to, because you need to be too deep.
Now he's a kid from Gardendale.
Right.
I believe he was freshman,
right.
all SEC his first year, and so he's coming in. He's going to have 2 years, or did he get redshirt? Or
he actually played his 2 years. He did not redshirt, so he will be considered a junior. Now again, with all this COVID stuff, I think they're finally done with Dr. Dumbass and the COVID.
I think all the COVID stuff is done. It's just now some of the guys that actually, if they play junior college, then they get to grab that. But he didn't.
That's the one other and that's why Justin Jefferson is back. So when this and Diego Pavias of the world. So the JUCO situation is the only question I think now. But I think he can be good, Pat. But we'll see.
All right, I just felt he was the one that got away from this Alabama recruiting. And I hope that he does show up. And all right, have a blessed day. Thank you, Drew. ESPN is very, very lucky to have you in their group.
Thank you, Pat. And we do have a listener that's also texted in, because we saw a lot of him in the Rely Quest Bowl. It was one of the few bright spots considering how that afternoon went for Alabama. But if we all wait, we remember Jeremiah Beeman, who is a true freshman from Parker High School, and I think still redshirted. He played in that bowl, and he played it really well, and he's supposedly up to 315 pounds, and he's another young player to watch for along Freddie Roach's defensive line. But we need to go on a break. We come back. Phone line's open to you, 256-576-4977 here on this morning edition of Talkin' Ball with Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lake.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Looks like the problem that was affecting westbound traffic coming in on 565 from Chapman Mountain has been cleared now. That traffic appears to be moving okay. And we got Greenbrier and Highway 20 single vehicle off the road. They had a wrecker on the way at last report. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? 7 different hormones can make it impossible for you to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
What does it mean to be a part of the Southeastern Conference? That you scheduled your wedding and even your child's birth around your school's game? Of course. But it means more than that. It means you're home to hundreds of Fulbright, Truman, Goldwater, and Rhodes Scholars. It means starting out as the birthplace of American public higher education, and now leading the way in unmanned spacecraft. This is the SEC, and here it just means more.
Hey, do you have heating and air issues as the springtime starts to roll around? Hey, there's just one name you need to know. Talent Heating and Air. #1 heating and air business right here in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah, we're locally based. If you call, you're going to get somebody based in Huntsville. Mentioned in spring earlier, we can actually do indoor air quality products, so we can help alleviate those allergy problems you're having in your house.
All right, Thomas from Talent Heating and Air, give them the number that when they call, somebody live and local will pick up.
That's 256-503-4490.
And you can always head to the World Wide Web and find Talent Heating and Air, and you guys will still respond.
That's talenthvac.com. If you don't want to talk to a person right away, you can fill out a form on there and get scheduled for a visit.
That's Talent Heating and Air. They're live, they're local. It's Talent Heating and Air.
AL certain number 21014.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal. And we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
Can't get a ticket? Never miss a second of Huntsville Havoc hockey.
It's to Alger. Alger back to Ruffin. Over to Buster. Who are you going to call? Buster Larson with the winner.
With the Havoc Zone. Only on 97.7 ESPN.com and the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app.
Got some 80s going on. There we go. There, Johnny boy. I feel like I'm going to watch Karate Kid here in a minute. But I know our next guest, that was part of his era. He's a little bit younger than that. He was mostly 90s, but he's an outstanding friend of ours and supporter of our shows. One of our favorite people has now won not one award, but 2 awards in ladies basketball. Is the great Ace Austin. Went out in her high school career. I don't know if she has a national all-star game to play. I don't think so, even though she should, because she's that good. But she certainly went out a winner in the Alabama-Mississippi ladies all-star game, scoring 14 points in the first half. But she has now won back-to-back Gatorade ladies Player of the Year awards for the Spring Garden Lady Panthers, who are 3-time state champions in basketball, 2-time in football. I was going to say football. She could play football, flag that is. She'd be excellent. But 2-time in volleyball. But she's now the 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year. Ladies in basketball, also Max Preps Player of the Year. So that's 2 down. I think Miss Basketball is coming, and maybe another award or 2. Certainly first team All-State and Super All-State for the great Ace Austin and those remarkable young ladies over there at Spring Garden. But we're going to welcome Brandon to the show on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. And Brandon, I did all that with no notes.
Man, your intros are out of this world. I'm telling you, doing that off the top of your head is great stuff. I think she's 2 or 3-time state finals game MVP.
Yeah, that's true. Every year, she's been MVP, of course. Yes.
Yes. Other than her 7th grade year when she won the title in 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Here 2020, not 2000.
2000 she was an embryo, bro, but we know
Well, the last time they lost, I want to say, was to Pisgah when they were in the regional final, when they were in 2A then. That's the last time that they lost. And so just tremendous. Just total domination. And what we talked about before about and they're thinking about doing this now. The HSA is thinking about changing the way they seed the teams because so you get a better matchup, because this year you had Eider and Spring Garden in the regional final. That should have been the final.
Well, we all know we've been ad nauseum over the Hoover-Huntsville situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And no disrespect to Florence, who also played Hoover tough and finished second in 7A. I had an outstanding year, 26-8 under Dylan Burleson and Ben Mullins. They were amazing. But I think we all agree that Huntsville and Hoover were the 2 best teams. I personally, I thought of all of them that I saw, I thought that Florence was the 3rd best team, an outstanding team. I thought they were better. All 3 of those teams were better than the Central Phoenix City team that was somehow ranked ahead of Huntsville in the polls for the majority of the last couple of months of the season. Certainly, and then after seeing them, I thought Florence was better than that Central Phoenix City team. And certainly, they were in the 7A state championship game. So kudos to Florence, best year in school history. Dylan Burleson, his 2nd Final Four appearance, as he also was with the Haleyville Lions, took them to their first ever a few years ago as well.
Well, I'm looking at this Conference USA bracket, and it's shaping up like I hope it does.
Right.
Because it's looking like you're going to end up having Kennesaw State and Jack State meet each other.
I hope so. Now, come on, Pet's got to beat Liberty twice in 2 weeks, but if he can get that done, dude, that's tough. But it would be a heck of a final, and that would be at 7:30 on Saturday night, Brandon.
Well, you got Simeon Cobble, who has kind of come into his own.
Oh, he was unreal last night.
He's kind of come into his own these last couple games, and this is the time to get hot. If you're going to do it, let's go. Let's do it now. And I'll tell you, if Kennesaw wins that and gets in the tournament again, you might see frat boys looking like Stroker Ace in that chicken costume in the movie running around down there. There's no telling what might happen. And but I was doing a little research on that. I didn't realize 2 or 3 of his assistant coaches are former Bama staffers.
Yeah. He got some family on there. I did talk to Philip Pearson briefly last night. Philip, of course, as we know, was a walk-on from Jeff Davis under Wimp Sanderson. And Jimmy, I'll give you this. I don't know. You listened to the show, so you may have heard the answer to this trivia question. Who was Philip Pearson's teammate at Jeff Davis and roommate at the University of Alabama? I'll give you another hint.
I don't know.
He's won 11 state championships.
Oh, wow.
I think Brandon knows the answer to this question.
Ricky Austin?
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, Brandon, you didn't get it.
Who else won 11? Tim Miller's won
11. There you go. Boom, boom, boom.
Tim Miller.
I'm trying to think.
They're both Jeff Davis alums.
Okay.
And, of course, we know Coach Miller, great friend of the show, won his first at his alma mater, Jeff Davis, but, of course, has won 10 more since that time at Bob Jones and now at Hazel Green, and had that amazing streak of 7 in a row halted this year in overtime against the now defending state champions. They will be Park Crossing. A heartbreaking loss for the ladies. Probably should have won that game, but still give credit to Park Crossing who got it done. But just a remarkable run. Tim Miller, Philip Pearson, like brothers. They've known each other for a very long time. So, but yeah, he's got some family on there. And then there's another one too, Brandon. Willie Watson, I think, is still a part of that staff. And he at one time was working for Tony Pujol at UNA.
Well, and I was watching last night a little bit of what I could before I couldn't stay up forever. But that Middle Tennessee State, Louisiana Tech game you were talking about. Ooh, so you could cut the tension in there with a knife on that one.
I mean, in a way, I was so glad I was home to watch Oklahoma and Kentucky. It was a great game, but I left at halftime because I was wanting to, and I was keeping up with the way the game was flowing with Missouri and Mississippi State, and Missouri pulled away in the latter stages of the second half to win that 85-73. But I was trying to make it home for Oklahoma and Kentucky. But yeah, I mean, I wished in a lot of ways I could have watched the second half of that game because, wow, what a half. It was a 9-point game at the break with Middle Tennessee in the lead, but what a second half and the 2 overtimes by Louisiana Tech to nearly pull that out. And La Tech was the 6th seed.
Yeah. And this is what you want your games to look like when it gets to this point. You don't want it to look like what it looked like in the AHSAA playoffs. You want the games to get tighter and better as they go forward, not be 30 and 40-point blowouts.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of coaches' complaints. I mean, they want the best teams to be in Birmingham for the fans because it's just like, for example, J.D. Gossett. There was a lot of college coaches there watching the Hoover-Huntsville game that had not seen J.D., and they were just blowing people's phones up like J.D. Gossett's a dog. He's tremendous.
Yes.
And then some of the others that didn't see him saw him in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. He did a great job because Randy Kennedy was talking about that. That's the thing. You want to see the best players. And even though there's much more TV and FHS, all that kind of stuff, WOTM does a great job, there's still the aspect of, look, hey, man, there's still situations where where they don't get a chance to see these kids until Birmingham, and a lot of them, and then that's when they are amazed. Just like you were with the folks behind you from RC Hatch who had not seen Ace Austin, and it was blowing their mind.
Oh my! That woman had to tell that man, stop cussing and sit down before you get us thrown out of here, because they were there for the RC Hatch game that was the next game with the boys.
Yeah.
And that guy said, we are getting killed. He's like, this girl is launching the ball all the way down the court. He's like, they're playing 4-on-5, and there's one girl that's running down through here like she lost, waiting on a 90-foot pass. He's like, and they're up 35.
Hey,
he's like, we just leave.
Hey, Brandon,
people just hadn't never seen it.
What do you think Ace would have done in flag football if they had a team?
We've talked about that.
I mean, I heard her talking about throwing the footballs on the beach, that she always grabbing a football. I could just see her out there, not just throwing it, but running. I mean, flag football's gotten pretty big in the state.
Dude, she wanted that so bad. And when their boys played Skyline, I wanted nothing more for her to come out with the boys at halftime. Because I felt like physically she could run with Skyline. Yeah. She wouldn't run with Hoover and some teams like that. But Skyline, the way those dudes are built, I felt like she could have run with them. And I think she wanted her chance to do that. I think if she could have suited up with that boys basketball team and went out there and played with them, she would have grinned like the Cheshire Cat. I think that's what she's always wanted to prove, that she could run on that level. And just the first time I took her to a game and she threw my wife to a game and she threw one of them 85-footers, my wife looked at me and said, what was that? And then she done it about 6 more times. And my wife said, what are they doing down here? She said, this is not normal. And she played basketball and played softball. And I said, it's different down here. I was like, they set up for this. The minute she gets under that goal and gets that ball, it is Bazooka City trying to get that thing down through there. And that was what I noticed in the against Brilliant in the state championship game. He kept the girl back. He was waiting on that. I guess he had heard enough about it and seen it to the point where he was not going to get caught looking. There wasn't going to be big highlight film against him, even if he had to go down there and play 4-on-5. He was keeping somebody back mid-court a little bit past the line watching that. And I want to say this to Drew before we go, because I see a guy that I feel like he's a little bit on the rise. And that's Adrian Woolley.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a guy.
Tremendous
I feel
player.
like that's a guy. I mean, he played almost 40 minutes last night, gave you 17 points, and between him and Simeon and Braden LaRue, you got 3 guys on that team that can really go. And the question for me is when you're looking at Adrian and you're looking at Simeon Cottle, I kind of think they won't be back next year.
Well,
I think you're going to have to turn that roster over.
We'll see. There's no question about it, but you're right. He had 17 points. Cottle, 32. Tremendous. And Lou with 15. That's going to be something Petway is going to have to do to try to keep these guys there. That's the problem when you're a mid-major coach, and he's such an outstanding recruiter, and he got Adrian Woolley from Paul Bryant High School. Woolley's alma mater actually won 6A this year. Woolley played AAU with a lot of the Huntsville High guys and is an outstanding player. An outstanding freshman, averaging 18.5 points per game. I believe he's freshman of the year in the Conference USA. Just a tremendous season and another great game last night. He ices the game from the free throw line. But Brandon, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend, brother.
Roll Tide, go Owls.
Roll Tide.
Well, we are going to go on a break. We've got guys waiting on the phone. Bryce, we're going to come to you out of this break. As we continue to roll on with hour 1 of this Friday edition of Talkin' Ball. Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lay. Stay with us.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. We do get to enjoy a little bit of sunshine. A couple of rogue showers are possible across the Tennessee Valley. Through the heart of the afternoon, early into the evening, we are going to be warm. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s, dropping into the lower 60s. We are talking about the chance for some strong and severe thunderstorms across the Tennessee Valley. All modes of severe weather are going to be possible all day Saturday, and then as we head into the earliest hours of Sunday morning. Temperatures climbing into the lower 70s on Saturday. Cooler Sunday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not a bad-looking morning at this point. I don't see anything on the board accident-wise. No stalls, no traffic signal headaches that we found. We are dealing with a heavy traffic load, though, all across the valley, so you be careful on that trip in. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Rocket City, for air that's cool and clean, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Get HVAC smart with Professor Green and the expert team at SensaGreen.com. Now offering up to $1,500 off any new Bryant system. Whatever it takes, Sensa Green has Huntsville covered. Remember, folks, with innovative, sensible green solutions, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
It is that time of year. Time to get your brackets ready to go. Steve Moulton here with 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And again, it's time to test out your basketball knowledge. We are your home for March Madness, but also brackets as well. Simply sign up, head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, or our social media sites at 977ESPN on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. But head over to our website, and a link will be there for you to join in, 977ESPN.com. Our winner will get an overnight stay at the Lodge at Gunnersville State Park, a foursome at Cherokee Ridge, and $100 worth of food. We'll also have prizes for second and third place as well. It's our Bracket Challenge 2025 style. And head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, and sign up today.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You know what?
It sucks when you hit the wrong button, man. But I'm just going to tell you what I was going to say is being as a kid, you know, this is, you know, I'm old enough now where when I came along, there still wasn't even CDs. Those showed up in the 90s.
Hello.
So we had a record player back in the day, and we had this album. There's no telling what it's worth. You know what I'm saying? You think about that when you have these vinyl records that are worth so much money, because that was the biggest record in the world for so long.
Yeah, Thriller was issued to us when we came into homeroom. I think my seventh grade year. I think they
there
gave
you
us
go.
all a
So you're
copy
from that
for us.
generation.
Oh yeah.
So, but we need to go out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now that I didn't hit the mute button. And we need to bring our friend Bryce onto the show. As Bryce is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, been waiting patiently. Bryce, what's up?
What's up, Bryce?
We got you, Bryce.
Hey, Drew.
What's up, man?
Go in.
It's
Oh,
Jay.
it's Jay. Okay, he put Jay through. Okay, got you. What's up? Jay from Athens is on with Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lay. What's up, Jay?
What's going on, my friends?
Not much. What's up?
Drew, how can Oklahoma let the same guy beat them twice in a month?
Well,
that was crazy.
I knew going in. I was like, okay, there's 5.6 seconds to go. Oweh is not going to pass it. I was like, if they throw him the ball, he's going to go straight to the rim and try to win this game. And they did leave a lot of time on the clock. I thought that the mistake they made, though, they should have made him pull up. They did not do a good enough job of building a wall. When he turned the corner and was able to somewhat square his shoulders, because when you look at the replay, it was a hell of a play. I mean, he shot it with his left hand, but they let him get downhill, and you can't let him get downhill. You've got to make him pull up and shoot a long two and just hope it's no good. And they don't. And then you and it's not even so much of course you want the rebound, but just back tap it, something. Just don't let them get a second attempt on a follow up, because there would have been about a second and a half second to go. But yeah, I just felt like Oklahoma, they didn't do a very good. And they had two defenders out there, but they were almost scared they were going to foul him, and then they just did not do a good enough job of building that wall, man.
Yeah, they didn't cut him off.
So how do you?
Yeah, they didn't cut him off on the sideline there. If they could have cut him off, of course, if you cut him off and he runs into you, get a foul.
That's what they were worried about, I think.
That's the hardest thing when a guy's charging, in the last seconds of a game. You just don't want to foul. And the guy, he made a great shot, left-handed shot. And I thought when Fierce hit the layup, I thought they had it. All they had to do was just hold him to some kind of desperation shot. But he went desperation to the rim. So,
yeah, I just kind of felt like almost they should have put three on that side of the floor. In other words, had someone waiting on him at the 3-point line to if he beat the other two to the spot, to try to just wall him up and maybe even try to take a charge. Because again, I just did not think Oweh was going to pass the ball, and he did a great job. And hopefully, it'll be the last victory for Kentucky in this tournament.
So with the physicality of yesterday's games, do you see all top four seeds winning today, tonight?
That's who I would pick. I mean, I think Auburn is definitely going to come in pissed off because they lost their last 2 games. They're playing Ole Miss, who they decimated the last time they played them in Neville Arena by 30. Had a competitive game with them on the road in the Pavilion, but I still think that's a bad matchup for Ole Miss. And then you're talking about Tennessee. Tennessee's playing against a Texas team that should be exhausted. Now, Texas is fighting for their lives. And if you heard Jimmy and I at the beginning of the show, I was telling Jimmy that right now I think they're in the the last 4 in. Texas is at on that line where they're the last team in the field pretty much. Yet that can change if they lose today. And don't forget, and we haven't really had a chance to talk about it, but Cooper Flagg gets injured yesterday for Duke. I don't think he'll play today. They're going to hold him out, and Duke is banged up. So if North Carolina can't beat this Duke team, which is not even going to be full strength, then they don't deserve to be in the tournament. And so Carolina needs to win this thing. And Louisville barely scraped by yesterday. I thought they were fixing to bite it and maybe start trying to open up the bracket for one of these ACC teams potentially. You're talking about because there's really only 3 locks. There's Duke, there's Clemson, there's Louisville. I forgive me, Jimmy. Did Clemson win last night? I did not. That's one game that I did not check.
I saw that Louisville was able to beat Stanford. And
so they came back, won that game by 2, I think. But I was not able to follow the entirety of the ACC. And let's look here real fast. They did Clemson in a very close game. So SMU will not be sneaking into the NCAA tournament like they did the college football playoff. They are done 57-54. So, but now it'll be Clemson and Louisville and then Duke and North Carolina. And to me, Carolina has to win these next 2 games to get in. And if they do, a team like Texas is going to be in trouble. Texas has a better resume than North Carolina, in my opinion. But I think I said this going in, Jimmy, that Texas had to, I thought win 3 games. The game today against Tennessee is huge, but I just don't see them holding up against the physicality of Tennessee after having to play 2 games already.
It kind of depends on how the game's played. Who are the officials? If Don Daly's officiating this game, there's going to be more fouls called. We've seen that. I think he did the Alabama Texas A&M game earlier in the year, and there was 88 free throws shot, something like that. It kind of depends on how that goes. But you watched yesterday how physical the games were. Yeah. They weren't calling fouls. I like to watch the games a lot of times without listening to the announcers, and I'll just watch it and I'll think, oh, there's a foul. Oh, no, it wasn't a foul. And they just keep on going. They keep on hammering each other. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tennessee, and I think I mentioned to you this before, they don't have a lot of fouls called on them. As physical as they play, they are able to pretty much stay keep their guys without getting close to fouling out. That's kind of what hurt them against Alabama a few weeks ago. They got some fouls called on them, and Alabama should have won the game. We'll see. It's probably going to be another physical game. They're going to have Tennessee's. I mean, they're going to be looking at Lanier, Ziegler. This is his senior year. Last year they went out to Mississippi State in the first round of the SEC tournament. I'm sure. I mean, people can say what they want. Like the conference tournament doesn't mean as much because we want to advance in the NCAA tournament. But you certainly don't want to go out the first round if you're the better team. You don't want to feel like, man, a lesser team just beat us. And I think Tennessee is absolutely the better team. They should win today.
Yeah, no
hey,
doubt.
Drew.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Jay.
Drew. Safe travels in Nashville, buddy, and we'll talk to you soon. And roll tide.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jay. And now we're going to go to Bryce, who's been waiting on the Neighbors Wealth Management hotline. Bryce, what's up?
There's some pallets right up at the end.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Bryce.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Hey, man.
Hey, Drew, what's Jeff going to do when we beat Kentucky for the 3rd time?
Well, I think he's on hold. We'll ask him, but it's going to be a heck of a game. It's interesting. I wanted to check the spread. Alabama is a 6.5-point favorite, and Lamont Butler not being available could be an issue as well. But I still have a lot of respect for Kentucky. That was a heck of a gutty effort last night. I was shocked, honestly. I quit watching. I thought they had it just salted. They were up 11, 12 points. They were playing really well. They'd thrown down a nasty dunk. I thought the game was over. And I just was like, all right, Kentucky salted this away. I'm getting ready for tomorrow. And I went upstairs, and then I come back downstairs. Whoa! I mean, all of a sudden, they're turning it over against the press. So not having Lamont, if they don't have him, will hurt. But again, Alabama had to systematically pull away in Tuscaloosa. We'll see. But I still like the Big Four today. I like, that's what Jay was just talking about. I like Auburn over Ole Miss. I think it's a good matchup for the Tigers. I like Tennessee over a team at Texas that's got a lot of miles on their tank already. And then, of course, we know Florida. They're definitely going to want revenge against Missouri after dropping their only basically home game of the year to them, 84-83 earlier in the season, I believe it was. And then Alabama, Kentucky. It's going to be a heck of a matchup, and we know the Big Blue Nation is going to try to take over the arena like they did last night.
Well, I think Alabama's peaking at the right time, and I heard Reed may be available too. So
yeah, we talked about that this morning. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I just can't wait to see what Jeff says, but he's probably going to say y'all beat us tonight. He's going to downplay it this morning.
Well, he's got to be in a good mood, too. His Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. We're going to take a break here, our last break. We're going to go to Jeff when we come back before we end the first hour. We're going to let him have the floor because his Blue Raiders on the women's and the men's side get wins, and they are in the semifinals of Conference USA, and his Cats are going to play Alabama tonight. But stay with us here on 97.7 The Zone, Talking Ball, Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lake.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We aren't a winning school. We are a championship school, and we make legends. Join the Crimson Tide as they look to continue to rise to the top of the NCAA basketball mountain. Every game, all season, right here on your home for Alabama basketball, the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor at Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com.
Party all the time.
Eddie Murphy did it.
One hit wonder for Eddie Murphy when he was at his zenith. We're going to go out to the Neighbors Wealth Management hotline. He's got to be in a good mood. Oh, is he gone? There's no Jeff from the borough. He left?
He just left. I don't know if he disconnected or if he hung up himself.
Oh, man. I set it up for him. I mean, he went undefeated yesterday. I mean, Kentucky wins. Middle Tennessee's men, what a game, 77-75, double overtime over Louisiana Tech. The women are the favorite in Conference USA. I mean, he should be in a great mood. Why would he hang up? Wow. I mean, I wanted to give him the floor to end the hour. There you go. I mean, you got a couple. You can call back in a minute here, Jeff, if you want to. But, man, I mean, I got to tell you what. But Jimmy, we were talking about that. Certainly, I always respect Kentucky. I mean, they've had more, wins in the SEC tournament than anyone. We know they won 4 in a row from 15 to 18. They're always going to take the arena over when they play. But look, this is what I said yesterday. Alabama's played better on the road, so they're not going to mind an arena, being full. And there'll be some Alabama fans there. I expect to be well represented for the Tide Nation. But
hey, I mean, I think Alabama's confident coming in, Jimmy.
Absolutely. They know they can beat Kentucky. They beat them at Rupp. They beat them at home. They just got to get off to a fast start.
Yeah.
You can't get off to that slow start like they did against Auburn and against Missouri. And really against Kentucky at home, they got off kind of a slow start, but then something clicked. Seemed like there was a steal by Nelson, got the ball kicked out. That just got them started. And they went on like a 22-4 run or something and was able to take the lead at the half. And they just kind of grinded it out in the second half and put them away. But Kentucky shorthanded today. They were shorthanded in Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago too. So
right.
They're going to be tough. Alabama's going to have to play they're going to have to play the kind of defense they've been playing lately. Get out on
Tennessee and Auburn, not what we saw against Florida. If they don't, like Kentucky still got enough shooters. If they don't defend hard and close out and play with physicality, and I love Amari Williams too, by the way. I think he's outstanding, the center for Kentucky.
Yeah, they got to get out on the threes. They can't get out rebounded, which they've been doing a really good job of, rebounding. But yeah, that Florida game, they got out hustled. I mean, they were getting beat on the breaks. Big guys weren't getting back, and they were getting, slam dunk, backdoor slam dunk. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness. And you can't do that against a team like Florida. And as bad as they played, they still only lost 5 points. So,
yeah. Well, and then I've been told by another listener, Kerry Corneliuson, he told me I didn't see the end. I just know it's a 75 to 73 game, I believe. But he told me that I need to check out the end of Louisville and Stanford, because I think Stanford led that for much of the game, and Louisville pulls it out. Pat Kelsey 75-73. I need to check that out. Louisville, of course, is going to play Clemson in a semifinal in the ACC tournament coming up today. Duke, Carolina, the other side. But speaking of the SEC tournament, Blake Lovell going to join us next. Stay with us. Hour 2 coming up of Talking Ball here on this Friday.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. AI-powered betting models to help you make sharper picks during March Madness. Free 7-day trial available now at rhythm.com. That's RITHMM.com.
Auburn and Alabama open up play in the SEC tournament, the quarterfinal round today. Auburn, the favorite to win the tournament title. They're 10.5-point favorites over Ole Miss, 154.5 the total in the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. Ole Miss knocked off Arkansas 83-80 yesterday to advance. Meanwhile, Alabama takes on Kentucky. They outlasted Oklahoma 85-84 yesterday. The Crimson Tide, 6.5-point favorites over the Wildcats, 180.5 the total. Jacksonville State of the semifinals of the Conference USA tournament. The Gamecocks laying 1.5 against Middle Tennessee State, 139.5 the total. For more, go to VSIN.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It is that time of year. Time to get your brackets ready to go. Steve Moulton here with 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And again, it's time to test out your basketball knowledge. We are your home for March Madness, but also brackets as well. Simply sign up, head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, or our social media sites at 977ESPN on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. But head over to our website, and a link will be there for you to join in, 977ESPN.com. Our winner will get an overnight stay at the Lodge at Gunnersville State Park, a foursome at Cherokee Ridge, and $100 worth of food. We'll also have prizes for second and third place as well. It's our Bracket Challenge 2025 style. And head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, and sign up today.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, our final hour of the week. Again, much appreciated. Jimmy Lay, AL.com, sitting in with us today. As we've got a couple of special guests. I'm going to talk a lot of SEC tournament because it's the best college basketball tournament in the country. Look, man, so far, Jimmy, I think there's no doubt it's lived up to the hype. I really, and again, it didn't get really away until the last 3 minutes yesterday. I thought the 4 games yesterday were outstanding. They were the kind of high-level matchups you were anticipating going into day 2 of the SEC tournament. Now, this is kind of what we've all been waiting for, though. The 4 heavyweights are going to take the floor today. Our next guest is going to be there on press row. He does an amazing job as a basketball analyst for Southeastern 16. We had his colleague on, Chris Lee, to kind of give his thoughts at the start of the week. We wanted to bring him in at the end of the week after some action has already been underway. He's certainly been there watching it all. Look forward to seeing him later today in Nashville. But these are the 4 heavyweights that are going to take the floor. And can they get through? Can we see them all, the top 4 seeds, advance to the semifinals? We've been kind of discussing it, but we're going to talk about it now and get the thoughts of one Blake Lovell, who's one of the best basketball minds in the Southeast. Blake, how you doing this morning? You're with Drew and Jimmy Lay.
Yeah, doing well, guys. Good to talk to you as always.
Well, I really thought the tournament's lived up to the hype so far. Sometimes you hype something up and it doesn't live up to expectations. What were your thoughts on the 4 matchups yesterday? I thought they were all very high level.
Yeah, no, they were for sure. I mean, even the Missouri-Mississippi State game, if you didn't watch it, you would think, all right, it was a 12-point game, but it was not. I mean, it was just kind of Missouri, shooting free throws at the end, and that was kind of what made it that score. It was a close game, and, the Tigers found a way to win that one. The other ones speak for themselves, right? The buzzer beater for Ole Miss, the double overtime game with A&M and Texas, and then, of course, Otega beats Kentucky again, which is just, I don't remember the last time I've seen a player hit back-to-back buzzer beaters basically against the same team. And if there has been that scenario, then I don't know that I've ever seen it from a player who played for that team that he just beat twice in a row. And so, that was pretty wild there. Crazy to look at how that played out. But yeah, I mean, you would think that, that should continue today when it comes to some of these teams. Now I say that we always know there is that possibility for, a team like Texas after game 2 to now come into game 3 where it's kind of like, all right, that lull sets in a little bit, tires, legs, all these things we always talk about, especially against a physical team like Tennessee. But, hey, at least the way it sets up right now, top part of the bracket, you got a bunch of teams that I think are going to be very physical. Bottom part of the bracket, you'll get some of that too, but you've also got 4 of the top 9 scoring offenses in the country head-to-head there at the bottom tonight.
Hey, Blake, of these 4 games, this is Jimmy Lay, by the way, who do you think has the biggest chance to get the upset win today of these 4 games?
Yeah, well, and that's where it gets interesting because, I probably could have given a lot of reasons for Kentucky, maybe, Missouri, maybe, but now I'm like, well, I need to see if 2 of their best players are going to be playing. Right. And, Mark Mitchell has the injury for Missouri last night. I mean, he has just been an absolute beast lately. So I don't know the exact status. It didn't sound like Dennis Gates was too concerned. But meanwhile, it seemed like it's a little bit different for Kentucky with Lamont Butler. And, you know, again, it's just like, I mean, Kentucky fans, it's deja vu. Here we go again. And, you know, so I don't know if it can be one of those, right? But then I look at the top and I'm like, well, I don't necessarily love the way Ole Miss matches up with Auburn. I don't think Texas, again, on day 3, wants to be seeing a team like Tennessee. So it becomes tougher to find one of these upsets. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not easy, guys, because, I mean, it really is kind of one where you're thinking, okay, if these top 4 come out and play like they're supposed to, I think it's going to be, you know, probably all of them advancing. But I will say, you know, and I know we're talking to the Alabama crowd, but,
right.
I mean, let's call it what it is. Kentucky has found ways to win big games time after time after time, even without Lamont Butler. So that, to me, you know, it's going to be a lot of Kentucky fans there. So you just never know, but without Butler, it's just hard for me to see that happening. But
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, I know he only played 8 minutes last night. They went and I know they did some, you know, imaging and did an MRI or whatnot, X-ray. I know that's what Coach Pope was talking about at halftime. He came back out. He did not go back on the floor. I would think if I'm Kentucky, it's much more important to have him for next week. I wouldn't think that they would risk it. But at the same time, he didn't play in the game in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama had to systematically pull away. So I wouldn't assume anything if I was an Alabama fan, but I would say I do like the matchup with Alabama being rested and Kentucky, you know, having to exert so much, because that last minute and a half, I'll be honest, Blake, I went upstairs. I kind of didn't watch the first part of it. I come downstairs and I'm like, whoa, I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Well, and I think, too, that's one of those things where, you know, like you said, I don't think there's any question that for Kentucky, there's no reason to chance anything in this game today, because let's call it what it is. Whether they win or lose, it's not going to affect their seeding any. It's just, you know, the committee has taught us that over the years, that once you get to today, I mean, I just don't think anything changes in terms of how they view you, because I don't think they're looking at 1 or 2 games and saying that's the big difference that's going to push you up an entire seed line or anything like that. We've not seen that before. They always seem to tell us the opposite. And so, you know, with Kentucky, that last stretch, I think, was a perfect example of why their fans are going to be very nervous, because they're sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, we almost just gave the game away without Lamont Butler again. And we don't have someone like that out there in a position where he can be the guy taking care of the ball. And then we have just 2 possessions where you're just like, what are we doing? Are we a Division I team here? Like, it was brutal. Yeah. And I think that's where, you know, for them, that's where that inconsistency comes in without him. And that's why, like you said, Drew, I think that it's hard to go against Alabama in the spot just because of all the unknowns. And I don't think Kentucky's going to take a chance on anything, because they don't want to jeopardize, you know, what's the bigger prize next week. So.
Hey, Blake, of these 4 games today, Texas is the only team that really playing for the opportunity to get into the tournament. Everybody else is already in the tournament. Pretty much their seeding is already established for the most part. I mean, Alabama may have a slight chance to get a number 1 seed. But do you think that affects how Texas plays today? Because a team that's desperate is going to play a little bit different than a team that already knows that they're in the tournament.
Well, and we've seen that win out, not just in this tournament so far, but we've seen it win out, you know, over the past couple of weeks in the SEC. Like, that's how we've gotten to this point now where realistically, like, there is a good chance, I think, that 14 teams are now going to make it. And I've been stuck on that 12 number. Wow. I'm like, hey,
me too.
I didn't see a scenario where we were going to have this happen. I said everything would have to go the SEC's way for it to get to 14. And what that meant was you had to get the right matchups in the tournament and all that. Like, that was kind of my thought for weeks now. And then what happened? Well, you got the right matchups in the tournament where the teams that were going to play the other teams, you know, there was a big benefit there in terms of what they were playing for, whereas Georgia had already locked up their seeding when they played Oklahoma. Vanderbilt, I think, had already locked up their spot in the tournament when they played Texas. So that added motivation for those 2 teams continued, you know, to win out. And they had won some of those big games over the past couple of weeks, just as Georgia and Vanderbilt and Arkansas had done, you know, to put themselves in a position where I think they're all in. So, yeah, like you can't discount the idea that team is going to continue here, even on, day 3 for Texas, because it's not clear cut yet whether or not they're going to get in. And I think they're probably, for most people, still right there on the line. And as we know, that's where things start to get interesting, especially when you get into these Friday and Saturday games in these other conference tournaments. Specifically, today is the day. I think if you're looking and you're an SEC, fan of whoever, and you're like, I want to see the SEC get 14 teams in. Well, today, like, you need to be all over these teams that are sitting here, sitting like, all right, if they win, there's a chance they may, skip Texas. You also are looking out west to like the Big West, which is wild to say, right? But this is where you start to say, okay, what happens if San Diego gets beat today in the Big West semifinals? And then you've got UC Irvine. Like, the Big West could be a team or be a conference that somehow is going to put 2 teams in, because if Irvine were to win, then all of a sudden, I think San Diego is going to get in that large bid. If that happens, then it's like, okay, that takes away a spot. And we keep doing the math, right? Look at the Mountain West. That's another conference that's going to maybe produce some chaos to give us that opportunity for another bid to be taken. And so if that's the case, you don't want to leave anything to chance. And that's why I do think Texas will have the same kind of motivation today, because I don't think by any means they're locked just yet.
Not yet. I thought going in, Blake, and we're talking to Blake Level, Southeastern 16. I thought they had to win 3. And if they beat Tennessee, if they could knock out one of the big 4, and Tennessee's been in the running for a 1 seed, and I think at worst probably going to be a 2 right now. If they could beat the Vols, that would be, I think, the impetus to get them in the tournament. Because I'll just say this, and I'm just going to look at it from an ACC perspective. If North Carolina doesn't win the ACC tournament, and it's Louisville, Clemson, or Duke, and they're all 3 in, I just don't think that the Carolina resume matches up to Texas if Texas can get a win today.
Well, and that's where Texas is kind of – they've done some of this work late, as we know. Like, they've moved in the top 40 in the net now. They've got 7 quad 1 wins. And what I think is still working for them is that they just simply do not have a bad loss anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're 7-10 in quad 1, 3-4 in quad 2. They're 9-0 in quad 3 and quad 4 combined. So I think from that perspective, we always say that. And that's why I feel like we really have to always remember, to me, the committee's always going to value the good wins more than they're going to knock you for the bad losses. And when you're these SEC teams, that's what we've said all year. There are no bad losses. Like, South Carolina lost to North Florida on the very first game slate of the entire season back in November. Since then, I don't think there's a single SEC team that's had what you would consider just an awful loss. Even Arkansas losing to South Carolina a couple weeks ago, they lost by 19. They were down by 35. Eye test tells me that's a bad loss, but the numbers tell us it's really not that bad. And so I think that's where, again, when you're comparing these teams like this, Texas, Oklahoma, because, again, I think they're the only 2 that are on the bubble. I know Vanderbilt fans are getting nervous thinking they're about to slide out somehow. I just don't see that happening. Vanderbilt has too many good wins, in my opinion, for that to happen. But from Texas's standpoint, having that resume versus, like you said, Drew, I look at North Carolina and I see a team that has 1 quad 1 win, a single quad 1 win, and 11 losses against the top competition. Texas 7-10, North Carolina 1-11. And then I see, okay, North Carolina, of their 22 wins, 13 of them have come in quad 3 and quad 4. And so it's just like, those aren't the quality wins. If the committee is valuing the good wins, on what planet should North Carolina be in over Texas? There is no planet that they should be in over Texas. There's no way, because you can't sit there and tell me, when we know that the conference record does not matter. And I feel like we always have to repeat that. Your conference record does not matter to the committee. Now, we can say, well, teams have only gotten in at this record or that record. Sure. But I'm telling you, I don't care that North Carolina's 13-7 in a historically bad ACC. The committee cares, what did you do for the entire body of work? And honestly, that's where Texas is lacking a little bit. They didn't have any great non-conference wins. But I think now that we see how you kind of compare these teams, in all honesty, give me 6-12 Texas in the SEC over 13-7 North Carolina in the ACC, just because I see the quality of wins. And those 13 wins for North Carolina, there are not many quality ones in there at all.
Well, drum roll, please, as we're last couple of minutes with you, Blake. We know you're busy. You're going to be on press row in Nashville. We're all going to be there today to see these heavyweights take the floor for the first time. We know the matchups now. We've had some interesting situations. We had 4 high-level games yesterday. We've already talked about Texas getting through the first 13 seed, I think, since maybe Auburn and Bruce Pearl in 2015. But just talk about the matchups. Who do you like in each game today?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean on the Auburn motivation too, which is wild to say, but everyone somehow I think forgot that Auburn was 27-2 entering last week's game, and just because they lost those 2 games, one at the buzzer to a potential 1 seed in Alabama, and then lost to Texas A&M, who's going to be probably a 3 or 4 seed, and was due that big home win. Auburn had won the regular season title before those 2 games, and so I think, again, motivation level, those kind of things, I think they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. And I don't think you want to give Auburn any sort of, Bruce Pearl especially, any sort of way to motivate his team to say it's us against the world as a team that's 27-4 and was pretty much the number 1 team for most of the entire season up until this past week. So I think that plays to Auburn's favor, so I like them in that matchup. Again, I think Texas, even with the high motivation they have, I just think Tennessee's a tough matchup when Tennessee's been sitting and waiting and waiting. I think their defense will be the story in that game. So I probably take the Vols to advance in that one. And like I said, without knowing, what's going to happen with these 2 injury situations with Mark Mitchell and Lamont Butler, like we mentioned, you would not be surprised if everyone is being overly cautious just to make sure you have these guys ready for next week. Even if it's kind of a Mark Mitchell that's not 100%, I don't like that against a Florida front court that we know has kind of been the star of the show over the past month or so in the SEC. So I'm probably going to pick the Gators, and I am probably going to pick Alabama just because, again, it's really hard for me without Lamont Butler for 40 minutes to look at Kentucky and feel like that's a team that's going to beat Alabama, given some of those, stretches we saw last night against Oklahoma, and also given what we've seen in the first 2 matchups. I think Alabama is just a bad matchup for Kentucky. And I feel like that probably wins out in this one.
And my final question for you, and this is a big if, because they'd have to go through the Gators potentially if they knock Missouri off, and we already know what they did in Tuscaloosa to Alabama. And Alabama's lost 3 in a row to Todd Golden's squad. If Alabama could run this gauntlet and win 3 in a row and win Nate Oates' 3rd SEC title, can they still get a 1? Are they a 1 if they win the tournament?
I think that will be the case if they do. And I think that's where we say, like, the committee pretty much has everything set by today, I think, is kind of what, we always know. But in that scenario where you do have that close gap between Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama potentially, I think, if one of these teams were to make a run here, and let's say, 2 of these teams either lose today or tomorrow, then I think you have to weigh that, even though, again, it is still the full body of work. You've got to consider that, I think. And that's where, like we said, there aren't going to be a lot of those situations where you feel like these games today and tomorrow are going to affect anything from a seeding standpoint. But when you are talking about this, and let's also quickly throw it in there, Drew, Duke's going to be a number 1 overall, not number 1 overall. They're going to be a number 1 seed, but also, with the Cooper Flag injury, all that, like, how is the committee looking at things like that? So I think you're going to see a little bit more movement maybe with these SEC teams and say, all right, maybe there is a little bit more at stake for those 3 teams in particular, knowing that this is kind of a scenario where you've had so many of these teams in the best conference we've ever seen be that close together, perhaps resume-wise. And maybe it is just as simple as who wins this week and who doesn't, and that determines it.
Well, great stuff from Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16. Let everybody know how to follow you guys and your coverage live from Nashville.
Yeah, I always appreciate you guys. Southeastern 16 on YouTube. Yeah, find us there. And yeah, we'll be having stuff, of course, this morning throughout the day, and then into Selection Sunday, of course. So yeah, you can follow us there, and everything else, follow me on Twitter at @DBlakeLovell.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
And we're going to go on our break. When we come back, I think he's back. Waiting on hold. We've been waiting to hear from Jeff from the Borough. He had a great day yesterday, both his alma mater and his Kentucky Wildcats, and we'll hear from him next. Here, stay with us on Talking Ball on this Friday. Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lay.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a new wreck in the 2800 block of turf. That's near Beard. Apparently had a vehicle hit a building there. They're reporting injury. 127 in McClung Lane in Limestone County may still be working. Had one in Decatur, 200 block of Railroad Avenue near the depot. That one also may be trying to clear. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Have you discovered Good Company Cafe? The place for breakfast, brunch, lunch, and so much more. Enjoy brunch all day and pair with one of our many seasonal refreshing drinks, including alcoholic and non-alcoholic options. Choose inside or outside on our gorgeous, spacious, dog-friendly patio and have some fun with friends playing yard games in the courtyard. See catering, to-go options, and lots more at goodcompany-cafe.com. Good Company Cafe, 7500 South Memorial Parkway.
It is that time of year. Time to get your brackets ready to go. Steve Moulton here with 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And again, it's time to test out your basketball knowledge. We are your home for March Madness, but also brackets as well. Simply sign up, head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, or our social media sites at 977ESPN on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. But head over to our website, and a link will be there for you to join in, 977ESPN.com. Our winner will get an overnight stay at the Lodge at Gunnersville State Park, a foursome at Cherokee Ridge, and $100 worth of food. We'll also have prizes for second and third place as well. It's our Bracket Challenge 2025 style. And head over to our website, 977ESPN.com, and sign up today.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of 12 world-famous theme parks, Orlando, Florida. With flights starting as low as just $49, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Orlando. Make all their dreams come true. Book nonstop to Orlando now at flybreeze.com.
You know, this process is all about talking ball.
Listen to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond.
What did they want privacy for? To just start talking ball.
Every weekday morning, wake up with Scott and Drew. It's Talkin' Ball. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, we're back. We got David Sisk coming up in a few minutes. He's going to talk some Kentucky Wildcats and some North Carolina Tar Heels with us. But first, we're going to talk to Jeff from the Borough. Jeff, how you doing? You had a good day yesterday, sir.
Jeff?
What's going on?
I heard last night on the broadcast that the SEC officials calling most fouls in any conference in the country. It's up 2%.
I'm sure that's true.
Oh no, they said on the broadcast. They said the foul calls are up 2% from last year. So replay has got to be changed. I'm sick of it. I wish it would take it out of sports. I'm so tired of going to the monitor or replays under review. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of getting things right. Why do we need to do that? Let's go back and play the 85 World Series Game 6. You want to? Go back and do that.
Well, it seems to be, though, what they're saying, Jeff, and you may be happy about this,
there seems to be a groundswell starting in basketball where they want it to be now maybe 2 coaches challenges where they limit these reviews.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's all right. But I'm saying he just got to. I mean, it's like an announcer say it all the time on the games. They'll say it's not the official's fault; it's the rules. I mean, they look at every little touch foul, every little thing. It's like, and I mean, why do we have to get is there some law that says we've got to get it right? Is it we've got to get everything called right in there? Is that some sports law now that we've got to get every little call right, every little thing right, every little deal? I mean, it's ridiculous.
It seems
I mean,
like
it's just.
It seems like, Jeff, that they're looking more and more at the flagrant ones possibilities. Is there a flagrant one in this thing? And every little bump, somebody goes down wrong, somebody falls down. I mean, they want to go to the monitor to look at that.
I can tell you that. I mean, I was watching the game. I was listening to Bill Tennessee last night too. But I mean, but if that foul on the car is not a flagrant, then I don't know what is.
Oh, you mean at the end?
They come over there. They come over there. I think probably looked at it for 45 seconds or 10 seconds probably. They come over there. They go, well, the common foul stands on the floor. And they took him and threw him down to the ground. They didn't call. And then he had to go. He had to make those free throws and stuff. But I mean, I know that they made some turnovers where they made the shot and stuff. I mean, they won. I'm glad they won. But I mean, it's just. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I was listening to Middle Tennessee, and they played double overtime and won. So both Middle Tennessee teams are playing today in the semifinals of the tournament. So I don't know. I know they had good crowds over there.
It was a good crowd. I was over there last night, Jeff. They had some good folks.
I mean, I know Middle. So, like I said, Middle sold their allotment out. They got the conference office. They sold them all, and people were still trying to. They were having people were online about ticket. Where can you get them? So I mean, I know Middle Tennessee had a good crowd. I know. Now, the other schools, I don't know about them. They're going to play Western this afternoon in the women's semifinals. Western should bring a good crowd too. I mean, of course, both of them big rivals. They've been rivals in 3 different leagues over the years. So they don't. I mean, neither one of them really likes each other. To be honest with you, and I mean, it should be a good ball game. Western's got a good team. They won 22, 23 games. Middle's won 24, whatever it is. So I mean, it ought to be a really good ball game. And more likely they'll get Liberty. I don't know, but I mean, they just got the. I don't know. I don't think they want to change it. I don't think the SEC wants to. And also, they were screaming about the start times, and I agree with that too. And Calipari told me for years to play on Saturday night. It's all about TV money. They could change it if they wanted to. They could play on Saturday night, like the Big East and SEC conferences. Don't you think so?
Well, I mean, I know John always wanted to play it on Saturday. Yeah, he didn't want to. He wanted to get it. He wanted to play it in prime time, and another thing that he complained about, and it has some merit. A lot of you didn't ever know if the committee was going to value the SEC tournament from the standpoint of if you want. Sunday. Yeah, and again, because they already have the bracket set, so I understand the arguments.
And one final thing too, Jay went on it. I mean, John Calipari has never liked conference tournaments.
No, he hasn't. That's true.
Why does Jay Williams open his big fat mouth? I mean, shut up. Nobody wants to hear your opinion. I mean, we all know this. It's been that way for every conference he's been in. He don't like them, but when he was in Kentucky, he understood it. Because people, like I told y'all, they saved their vacation money all year to go to this thing. So he knows. I mean, Pope definitely though he played, but I mean. It's just shut up about Calipari. I mean, he lost yesterday. That's fine, but I mean, he don't like him. He never has. But I mean, it was a great night last night, and like I said, I hope it just continue through Sunday. So have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good, Jeff.
That was actually a good call from Jeff. We gave Jeff the floor, and again, he had a good day yesterday.
Go Blue Raiders!
The Blue Raiders won, and they had a good contingent. There was a loud over there, like Jeff said. They sold out of their allotment. They've traveled well the 2 years to the tournament. And it's just kind of neat seeing all the squads travel, and they bring their pet bands, and they bring some of their fan base to the Rocket City, and it's just a great environment. And the way they've refurbished and remodeled the Probst Arena, it's outstanding. Everything's kind of right on top. It's fun, and a big shout out to Joel Lamp, Mark Russell, and everybody with our great city that's helped make that event great.
Just different environment when you know you've got to win the tournament to make the big dance.
Such ferocity and
Oh,
competition.
yeah.
You know, it's just outstanding. But I know we need to go on a break. When we come back, Coach David Sisk probably didn't get to bed till 2 a.m. is going to be kind enough to join us as the Wildcats take on Alabama tonight, North Carolina with a big game against Duke. And we're going to talk to some college basketball with one of the best minds in the business when we come back here on Talkin' Ball on this Friday. Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lake.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. We do get to enjoy a little bit of sunshine. A couple of rogue showers are possible across the Tennessee Valley. Through the heart of the afternoon, early into the evening, we are going to be warm. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s, dropping into the lower 60s. We are talking about the chance for some strong and severe thunderstorms across the Tennessee Valley. All modes of severe weather are going to be possible all day Saturday, and then as we head into the earliest hours of Sunday morning. Temperatures climbing into the lower 70s on Saturday. Cooler Sunday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We're down to one accident now, 2800 block of turf that's near Beard. Had a vehicle hit a building there. That one did have an injury involved. Everything else from earlier should be cleared out of the way now. You be careful as you make the rest of that trip in. You're definitely going to be in bumper-to-bumper traffic with a lot of folks scrambling trying to get in on time this morning. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the plan. A free quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Neck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tuscaloosa, we live by the blue-collar basketball motto.
Stepping back, deep three.
Hard work.
2-on-1, driving, stepping through, stop shot, got it to go.
Teamwork.
Playing the song for the champions of the Southeastern Conference.
Join us for every game right here on your home for Alabama basketball.
Listen to Alabama basketball all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal, and we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beams likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Rocket City, for air that's cool and clean, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Get HVAC smart with Professor Green and the expert team at SensaGreen.com. Now offering up to $1,500 off any new Bryant system. Whatever it takes, Sensa Green has Huntsville covered. Remember, folks, with innovative, sensible green solutions, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well, to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just printing ink on paper, we're building relationships.
We are your home for Charger basketball.
Tommy Murr swings it over to Campbell. Campbell on the wing for the lead. Oh my God!
We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back to Talking Ball here on this Friday. It's been a quick show, but time flies when you're having fun. We gave Jeff the floor. It's actually a decent phone call, and he's excited for the chances of his Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. I don't call them Middle Tennessee State anymore because it's Middle Tennessee, but the Blue Raiders will take the floor later today, twice actually, in the afternoon. In game 2, they will take on Jack State at 2:00, and then the ladies will take the floor tonight as well as they're trying to defend their Conference USA championship. And we certainly are looking forward to that here in the Rocket City. Those 2 games will be tonight. It will be Louisiana Tech Liberty at 5:30, and they are the 2-seed Liberty, the Flames, and then the top seed Middle Tennessee, 25-7. They will take on Western Kentucky, and that will be tonight at 8:00, and we'll see if Middle Tennessee can advance to the men's championship game as well. As we said, they're going to have to. It's going to be a short turnaround for the men today, and especially for Middle Tennessee, double overtime over Louisiana Tech. But they certainly are going to give it their best shot as they are going to take the floor and try to win a automatic bid, 2 of them for the men and the women. As Liberty will also be trying to pull that double dip on the men's side as well. Liberty is the top seed, and they'll take on Kennesaw State and Antoine Petway at 11:30 a.m. this morning on the men's side. But we're going to talk some SEC tournament, some Kentucky, and even some North Carolina in the ACC. He does a great job for Rivals.com. He's one of my favorite basketball minds. Get to pick his brain. And, boy, he was there late last night seeing some high-level action. He's been so kind to join us this morning. But we're going to talk to Coach David Sisk and talk some Kentucky, talk some UNC, and he'll be talking to Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lay. Coach, it's great to have you back. How you doing this morning?
What's up, Coach?
I'm doing good. You were speaking about middle. I was actually one of Nick McDivitt's AAU coaches back a million years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they're having a good year. They had I'm sure you were maybe following it. They had a marathon last night, kind of like you saw with Texas and Texas A&M. Ended up being a double overtime against Louisiana Tech over at the VBC here in Huntsville to advance to the semifinals. But it was a heck of a win for Middle Tennessee, and now they've got a chance to maybe, like we said, win an automatic bid. We'll see. They will certainly be playing later today at 2:00 or thereabouts against Jack State, the 2 and the 3 seeds, and then Liberty, the 1 seed, against 4 seed Kennesaw State and Antoine Petway. But, man, you saw some high-level action yesterday. I know you texted me at one time and said, man, we may not get out here till 2 a.m. But what some high-level basketball you got a chance to see, Coach?
Yeah, the Texas A&M game was brutal. I was just like, man, is this thing ever going to? I mean, it's bad when it's 3:00 in the afternoon. You're looking at your watch and saying it's going to be 12 hours from now before I get out of here with the next 2 games. But it really was. Now, I didn't get there for the Ole Miss Arkansas game. I got there at the half, but Texas A&M still got to watch 3 hours of that game, and then the 2 night games, like you said, were really, really good. Missouri. And Mississippi State was a really good game. Missouri pulled away there late. It was back and forth. And then, the fireworks at the end, Kentucky, and the win over Oklahoma. That's one that they'll be talking about for a long time. You gag away a 12-point lead in the last couple of minutes, and Oklahoma, I just didn't feel like there was any way that they could come back. And even when they made it close to 4, I said, right, well, they can't come back and win. But you look up and they hit they go up 1 with 6 seconds left, and in Oweh for the second straight time hits the game winner against his old team.
Crazy how the same guy can do that 2 times against that team. So, Coach, you there, Coach?
Yeah,
yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So we got 4 big games today. We were talking earlier about how that Texas is the only team that is not definitely in the NCAA tournament. Do you think that's going to be an impact in that game against Tennessee, or is Tennessee just too strong for Texas?
Well, I looked at Lenardi this morning. He's got them in.
Yeah, he does.
He's got them last 4 in. Yeah. So everybody's them, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, they've all got in. So according to him, of course, now they're I think the last team. So you can't take any of that for granted. So, somebody might come up and steal it, but, they're going to play hard. And they probably feel, they're a Cinderella team in it, no doubt about it. Texas A&M is a similar type of team in Tennessee. And, they were able to get that one yesterday. They're a lot more physical, seeing them in person, talking about Texas, than what I thought they were. A&M ended up getting them on the boards a little bit, but they scored in the paint. They got they're strong inside as far as physicality goes. And, the crazy thing about that, down the stretch, they went into double overtime. They won the game, and I don't think Trey Johnson scored for like 14 minutes. Only took like 1 or 2 shots. They just stood him in the corner. So, they got to get him going against Tennessee. That's almost a fireable offense right there, in my opinion. He is so good. They've got to get him involved against Tennessee for the whole game.
Yeah, they really do. It's now Lamont Butler situation. They've dealt with it all year, but he went out last night after 8 minutes.
Yeah.
His shoulder didn't look good. I've already said earlier in the show, Coach, that if I were Pope, I would hold him out and hope that you get him for when it really matters next week. So what are your thoughts on the matchup with Alabama now with the injury to Butler?
Well, I was watching him when he came back, and he couldn't clap for anything else. That arm was just hanging, the left arm.
Oof.
And so he takes a good hit. He takes a good hit, and it just goes. And so that really, and that was the big thing. I don't think, they were so bad against the press the last few minutes. They had 3 turnovers that just Oklahoma converted like bang, bang, bang. And I don't think they do that with Butler on the floor. So they've got to, it's going to be tough without him. And I thought they might have a chance tonight. I thought if there was one in the cards, a 3-6 Kentucky-Alabama game would be very, very interesting. Probably the most interesting of all the 4 games. But I'll be honest with you, I just don't see how they do it without Butler. He's out. Robinson's out the rest of the year. You just can't lose 2 guys like that. Once you start playing the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Auburns, you're moving way up in real estate there, top basketball programs. So I just don't see how they can overcome it.
Now we had Blake Lovell on earlier. He picked the Big 4 to advance to the semis. You just kind of mentioned some of the matchups. I don't think Ole Miss is a good matchup. I respect the hell out of Chris Beard. But I just don't think that's a good matchup for Auburn, especially with the mentality I think Auburn's going to come in. Do you anticipate the heavyweights moving on, Coach?
Yeah, I don't think the Denver Nuggets would be a good matchup for Auburn. The way I don't. Yeah, I do. I think I look at them. I think Florida, Alabama, Tennessee. Yeah, I think they do move on. That's what one of the Kentucky writers said to me when we were jumping on the bus last night about 1:30, and he said, "Man, the big boy's going to show up tomorrow." So that's true, and if so, and Kentucky gets beat, man, I'm still hanging around for the semifinals. I want to watch those teams play against each other.
Well, and speaking of another heavyweight, you follow UNC very closely. Cooper Flagg, we will be shocked if he plays after what we saw yesterday and what John Shire said after the game. Duke is probably going to be down 2 guys. They're banged up. North Carolina, it really looked like 2 complete mismatches the first 2 times they played. But to me, I think they still got to win the ACC tournament to get in. What are your thoughts on UNC? And I definitely think they have to beat Duke today, but I think in some ways they got to win the tournament.
Man, I look at Lenardi, and he's got them now. First 4 in is the second team of the 4. He's got 2 more behind him. We'll see. Man, Hubert right now looks like he's just got the golden slipper. With the injuries to Duke, and you don't see anybody get hurt, but North Carolina will take everything they can get right now. And then Clemson looks like they got a starter hurt last night. If they beat Louisville, Louisville's good too. But man, they got took down to the wire. So, yeah, I mean, if North Carolina wins, I mean, they're definitely in.
Okay.
But it looks like I think Ohio State and Indiana and some of those teams falling out in the Big Ten. But looking at Lenardi today, it looks like the Big Ten is the league that has suffered and is going to have some of the teams come up just short because he's got them in a good spot. But like you said, they beat a short-handed Duke team. Duke's still really good even without them.
Right.
But I don't know, man. There might be a Sweet 16 team, which is still good. But if they don't have these guys healthy, especially Cooper Flagg, I mean, there's no way that they're going to go through some of these better teams. And I just hope. I was telling the guy last night. I just hope that they don't stick Auburn and Florida on the same side, or Auburn, Florida, and Duke on the same side, and have them knock each other out in the tournament. I've said Auburn, Duke all year, and I think Florida's in that group. And I just hope two of those three, and Alabama's will say, "Hold on, wait, what about us?" But I would still like to be able to see two of those three teams meet down the championship game, or at least have the opportunity to meet.
Yeah, Coach. Right now, Lenardi's got Auburn in the South, number one, Duke number one in the East, Florida number one in the West, and Houston number one in the Midwest, with Alabama the number two in the Midwest. So right now, that would be the case. You're talking about North Carolina having a shot, thinking that they have to win the tournament. How much does the committee look at a possible win over Duke? A shorthanded Duke without their best player, or do they just look at it and say, no, North Carolina beat Duke, and that's what matters most?
Well, I think they would just have to, at that point, I just think it being Duke really helps them because they're so close, and that just might be the deciding factor because the momentum's on their side, and the head of the committee is the North Carolina AD too, so that doesn't help. That doesn't hurt.
That's a great point. We're talking to David Sisk, Rivals.com, finishing it up with you. Coach, I will say this, that I think if Florida makes the finals of the SEC tournament against Auburn, I picked the Gators to win the SEC tournament. Of course, if they win it, they're a 1. I think if they make the finals, they're still a 1 along with Auburn. I think the only narrow path for Alabama or Tennessee to be a 1 seed is one of those two has to win the SEC tournament. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe so. And I still think I just don't think you could go against any of those other teams. I mean,
right.
I just look at Florida and they just go under the radar so much. But they won at Auburn, they won at Alabama, they number 1 ranked Tennessee went down there and got the score doubled on them. And when they don't fool around, man, they are so good from top to bottom. When you look at Condon, he's just turned himself into a draft pick.
Yep.
And they they're just loaded. I'm not going to see them play in person. I'm really excited. Seen Alabama. I'm really excited to see Florida play today, and I want to see Bruce in action. I want to see how worked up he is. I just like to watch it. Just watch him.
Yeah, it's good. I can't wait to see all 4 of these games. Well, Coach, we know you had a late night last night. We look forward to seeing you in Nashville. We appreciate you for taking the time to talk a little SEC tournament and UNC with us. Let everybody know how to follow your coverage later today, and look forward to seeing you.
Yes, you're going to be up there tonight, I'm sure, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, look forward to that. Coach David Sisk at Twitter, and you can find me at the Rivals Network for Kentucky, North Carolina sites. And I'll tell you what, man, bring your overcoat. That's why I sound the way I do this morning. I sat under that air conditioning, and you can hang meat in that gym.
I do have long sleeves on, Coach. I appreciate the warning. Thank you for appreciate that.
I bring it. I just playing like you're going to Lambeau Field.
Wow. Almost like the hockey arena last year in the Conference USA tournament. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, see you guys.
All right, we're going to go on a break, wrap up this Friday edition of Talkin' Ball. Drew DeArmond and Jimmy Lay. Stay with us.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We're down to 1 accident now, 2800 block of turf that's near Beard. had a vehicle hit a building there. That one did have an injury involved. Everything else from earlier should be cleared out of the way now. You be careful as you make the rest of that trip in. You're definitely going to be in bumper-to-bumper traffic with a lot of folks scrambling trying to get in on time this morning. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the plan. A free quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Neck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead, ran away, and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer again. Baumhauer's Victory Grill is extremely proud to have recently received numerous awards, including being voted best wings in the state of Alabama. Other awards received include Best All-Around Restaurant, Best American Restaurant, #1 Sports Bar, Best Chef, Best Wings, and Best Dining Experience. Thank you for 43 legendary years, and we look forward to providing you an award-winning dining experience at every visit. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of iconic casinos, world-class shows, dining, and entertainment. Las Vegas. With flights starting as low as just $79, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Las Vegas. Book nonstop to Las Vegas now at flybreeze.com.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com.
Today, and that will be college basketball.
Headlines today with Scott
Because
Tyson
now,
and Drew DeArmond.
we know John and Joe, they're going to be out at UAH Charger Park and Toyota Field. Going to have some UAH baseball, some UAH softball. Go Chargers. But we're going to be really monitoring later today at noon. The ladies under Alan Sharp, they're going to be taking the floor over at Union as they're going to the UAH women. I went for the second time in the last 6 or 7 years, going to be in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a big time matchup for Alan Sharp in year one as they're going to take on Nova Southeastern. And then, of course, on Saturday at 1:30, Steve Moulton will be on the call, UAH in Tampa. We'll be monitoring UAH and their March Madness. We're going to be monitoring the SEC tournament. We're going to be live there for the 4 heavyweights later today. And then, of course, go out Conference USA out here in Huntsville. The women taking the floor tonight. We already talked about that. And then the men this afternoon. My man Antoine Petway taking on Liberty and Richie McKay. The 4 at Kennesaw State versus the 1 Liberty. And then the 2-3 matchup, Middle Tennessee and our Jack State Gamecocks from in-state. So, Jimmy, some big basketball today.
A lot of really big games this weekend. Looking forward to seeing what UAH is going to do. How many games have they won in a row now, Drew?
30
games in a row.
30-1.
Historic season, hoping to get a rematch with Nova. That was the first game of the season. They lost in overtime by 1.
Yes.
And they're hoping to get another shot at them, or maybe Nova gets upset. Who knows?
Yeah. And so, again, we're going to have Louisiana Tech Liberty at 5:30 tonight over at the BBC. That's the first women's semifinal. And then the last one, Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. So 2 high-level women's games in the Rocket City as well. But the SEC is just going to be loaded today over at Bridgestone. Can't wait to be over there. As we know, game 1, you'll hear all those games on 97.7 The Zone. The Auburn Tigers taking the floor against Ole Miss in the 1-8 game. And then, of course, as we said, the other more afternoon matchup, so to speak. We're going to have the Tennessee Vols finally taking the floor against Texas. Texas kind of the Cinderella, the 13 seed, the 4 seed Tennessee. And then the night session, some heavyweights taking the floor. The Florida Gators taking on Missouri, trying to get some revenge against the Tigers. The Gators did lose to them at home earlier in the season. And then Alabama trying to make history. Never beat Kentucky 3 times in one season. Trying to do that for the first time tonight. The 3-6 matchup, probably closer to 9 p.m. Alabama and the Kentucky Wildcats. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Some iffy weather coming in. They're going to let you know on the Blitz next. Joe Hunk and John Abraham.
Are you trying to find a new house? Are you trying to find the right loan, the right people to do your loan? Look no further than the Bank of Frank Ewing in Hazel Green. John Kendall, the Vice President of Mortgage with me. John, when they need a loan and I say